So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second seminar in our 2018 Engage seminar series, World Heritage Sites, Cities of Inspiration. And welcome to the Port of Liverpool building in the Rathbone Hall. Our three seminars with three World Heritage Site cities are being held in each of the three graces. Engage wants to contextualize these seminars by placing them in three of the most beautiful buildings which form part of the UNESCO Maritime Mercantile City inscribed in 2004. We want to be inspired by some of the architectural achievements of the past that we are rightly proud of, and also by the challenges in the present of designing in a World Heritage Site city, which architects are rising to in Strasbourg, Bordeaux, and Hamburg. The Port of Liverpool building is Grade 2 star listed and was designed by Sir Arnold Thornley and F.B. Hobbs. It was constructed between 1904 and 1907, making it the oldest of the three graces, with a reinforced concrete frame that is clad in Portland stone. The building was the headquarters of the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board for 87 years, from 1907 to 1994. It is now in the hands of a private company based offshore in the British Virgin Islands. This building was built on the infilled George's Dock, and we are hosted tonight by Rathbones, a company that began life in Liverpool in the 1720s originally, and today is a leading investment manager. We're delighted to welcome Bordeaux tonight. I've been inspired by the story emerging from Bordeaux, of which I was relatively unaware. They have been extremely successful in regenerating their city and refocusing their uniqueness around their magnificent heritage. They have the largest urban UNESCO World Heritage Site anywhere in the world. We will see tonight how they have transformed their city with a heritage-led development process that has significantly improved the urban environment for residents and visitors alike. We're in for a real treat. We promised you inspiration, and in Bordeaux, they have it in buckets. These seminars are being delivered in the context of a local narrative which has until fairly recently been extremely negative about being a World Heritage Site, and the main antagonism has been around the perceived restraint that our UNESCO status places on development and regeneration. Engage hopes that this series will demonstrate that we have nothing to be afraid of. In fact, exactly the opposite. Our UNESCO status sets us apart from other cities, is something to be proud of, and can drive forward quality development, inspirational modern architecture, thoughtful and respectful planning, and still deliver the profits developers and landowners desire. We will also learn tonight about negotiated urban planning, which is how Bordeaux works together with everyone, including residents, in the design of the places that are being created within the World Heritage Site and buffer zone. Residents are respected and valued in the French system, and also by Engage here tonight. And so I want to ask you now to just spend a moment introducing yourself by name to the people around you, simply who you are, where you've come from tonight, and maybe why you're here. So please introduce yourself by name and find the names of a few people around you. Off you go. And if you came together, find somebody else. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I always like that buzz at the start of our events. You will get another chance to chat like that again after we've heard our speaker. I'm going to introduce our speaker in a moment, and then following her presentation, you'll be given a few moments to share your first impressions and reactions with those around you. Then we'll go and ask our panel members for their brief reflections, following which I will open the discussion to everyone. We will try to bring the proceedings to a close by 7:30. Please tweet during the seminar, and the hashtag is Liverpool WHS, and we are at Engage Liverpool. I want to thank our sponsors who have made this series possible: R.S. Clare, Brock Carmichael Architects, Planet Intelligent Environments, and Liverpool City Council. I want to welcome and introduce to you our three local panellists this evening. From politics, at this end we have Alice Bennett, Councillor Alice Bennett, Mayoral Lead for Heritage and Design. Next is one of our sponsors, Michael Kosa, partner at Brock Carmichael Architects. And from the municipality, from the City Council, Leslie Woodbridge, who is our World Heritage Site Coordinator. Now let me introduce our speaker from Bordeaux. Anne-Laure Moniot trained as an architect in Paris and did a master's in Santiago, Chile, where she stayed on to become a lecturer at the Universidad Central de Chile, Universidad Andrés Bello, for a couple of years. She continues to teach and train professionals in France today. From 2004 to 2015, she was head of the Architectural and Urban Landscape Department for the city of Bordeaux, and since 2016 is head of the Architecture and Urban Heritage Projects Department at Bordeaux Métropole. Anne-Laure is regularly invited to take part in debates, address conferences, and participate in roundtables in Bordeaux and beyond. She has spoken on heritage policy, planning and development, managing a large urban World Heritage Site, building within a historic urban landscape, and tourism in the management plan of a World Heritage Site. Anne-Laure has written extensively on the subject of heritage and development and has travelled widely on technical missions, including in Algeria, Latvia, Japan, Russia, and Romania. She is one of France's most experienced authorities on the relationship between heritage and urban planning, and as an architect, values the challenges of designing modern buildings and urban neighbourhoods that are influenced by the heritage contexts in which they will arise. In fact, Bordeaux is perhaps one of the most recognised cities anywhere in Europe for harmonising its rich heritage tradition with civic demands for growth and development, including in a redundant port area, the Bassin à Flot, which we're going to hear about tonight. It is a city that has utterly transformed itself by being unafraid to put heritage at the heart of its plans. It totally undermines the argument of those who would complain that taking heritage and UNESCO World Heritage Site concerns seriously leads to a place becoming a museum and being preserved in aspic. Bordeaux is a perfect city from which to be inspired for the task that lies ahead in Liverpool. Please welcome to the podium Anne-Laure Moniot.
Good evening everybody, good evening Mary, good evening Matthew, good evening Laura, good evening Leslie, good evening Peter, good evening Jerry. My name is Anne-Laure. I thank Jerry for the very large curriculum he has made of my small career. I'm very happy to be here, and I will do my best to explain the experience of Bordeaux, which is a collective experience. I'm just like a reporter for you to know a little more about it. Bordeaux Port of the Moon has been inscribed on the World Heritage List in 2007. I'm sorry. Voilà. You can see Bordeaux on the map. To have an idea, it's about 100 kilometers from the seaside. So it's an internal river harbor and not an oceanic harbor, which is explained it has declined and it's not anymore a productive harbor, which is part of the difficulty in 1985 when Alain Juppé arrived at the municipality as a mayor. He found a city in a very bad state, and the bad state is also in the mind of the people from Bordeaux that were very depressed at the time. This is an overview of the city with the river in the middle that parts the town in two banks, with the settlement on the left bank here, and this part was urbanized only after the 19th century, when the first bridge of Bordeaux was built, and it cuts the harbor in two parts: harbor with relation with the ocean, and the harbor with relation with the hinterlands. Today, Bordeaux is part of a big metropolis composed by 28 municipalities. The metropolis has a competency in urbanism, but the elected responsible are from the municipality. And this is part of the explanation why in 2016 I changed job, because we reorganized the administration. Some key numbers. The population of the city center is around 250 inhabitants, which is some 40,000 more than before the global urban project I'm going to talk to you about. The World Heritage Site is 1,810 hectares, which is most of the urbanized place in Bordeaux. So this is not like a collection of districts with special interest, but this is the motivation for the inscription is a settlement on the River Garonne. The River Garonne allowed to build an harbor, the harbor allowed to have exchange with the world, and these exchanges gave the site and the inhabitants prosperity. So this is very important to understand that the prosperity is due to the possibility of exchanges. Well, here you can have a more geographical view of the extension of the World Heritage Site. Most of the left bank, with the limitation of the 19th century boulevard, with the bassin à flot in the northern part. These bassin à flot were built at the end of the 19th century after a lot of discussion, but as a consequence of the diminution of the port by the construction of the bridge to go on the other side, decision of Napoleon. And this is a buffer zone. The buffer zone is also a very big territory. At the moment of the instruction by ICOMOS of the perimeters, two theories were competing, or we will have a perimeter following strictly the stone landscape, as we used to call it in Bordeaux, which is this kind of landscape, a lot of building of stone, very low, or we have a limit that is going to be very clear on the map. And the limit is also an infrastructure of the history of Bordeaux, these boulevards from the 19th century. And this is a decision that has been made. And as a consequence, the district we can see right behind the Hôtel de Ville. This is the place of Hôtel de Ville, the municipality. The office of the mayor is around here. You have a new district of the 70s, 50s to 70s time to be built. That have been built at the same time as the first urbanistic document to conserve the historic center was designed. So we have a tradition of thinking both things in the same project, conservation and modernization of the city. This is important to have in mind. You may want to know if the World Heritage status is well appropriated by the inhabitants, the professionals, the local developers, or other economic actors such as the tourist sector. If I want to explain that, I have to tell you about the inscription as the recognition, the valorization of a big urban project that changed totally the city and marked a renaissance of the city. In that perspective, there is maybe in the mind of the local actors and people a confusion between the inscription and the symbolic of renovation and trusting again in the future. So in that sense, it's well appropriated. The renovation of the city, it's the same as the UNESCO recognition. But it doesn't mean that they know very well all these implications, all the consequences. It doesn't mean that they are able to talk the UNESCO language, which is very particular. It doesn't mean that they know everything about the site. They have their own way to appropriate and to feel responsible for this renaissance. I can't find another word. So this is the most symbolic place of Bordeaux about the global urban project. This is on the quay side, like a mirror of water, reflecting pool of the most famous place of the 18th century, built as a real square. It's half a real square as a parent one because it's on the river, and at the time the river was the way from where you arrive in the city. And you can see the public transportation system, tramway, without any cable, and there isn't the word is there is no tram stop. There are no tram tickets. So this is one of the consequences. This heritage is, as I told you, very diverse, and it's owned by private owners, by people from Bordeaux themselves, and it's the result of a big urban project. I'm going to explain to you now. This project was a set of different actions coordinated to go in the same direction, and was based in the heritage as a quality for the development of the city. Bordeaux was suffering urban sprawl in east or west direction, and the project of Alain Juppé was to build again development direction from north to south. In the north you have the bassin à flot, in the south you have the railroad station, and the river Garonne is in the middle but is following that direction. On the other bank you have former industrial plots to be reconverted. So we had the chance, or we decided, or Bordeaux decided to take as a chance the facility of the disponibility of land that were not anymore economically used, to think about a big urban project. This project was based on heritage but on mobility. The public transportation system, and I'm going to show you later the map of the public transportation system, as an objective to drive inside the city center the district, the inhabitants from the district outside the city center. It's not like a circular transportation system. And the idea was to cross the line, 3 lines at the beginning, 2 by 2, to make opportunity to have people meeting themselves in the city center. And 3 big places were reactivated like that, because there were the place where the tram line were crossing. The facade of the main street along the tram system were cleaned after the first action. I should have said that before. The first action was the action of lighting, because it's the more efficient. It's easier to do, because in the night you can't see what's awful. And if you decided to enlight, you enlight and you reveal the beauty of the place, hidden beside the difficulties of the maintenance of heritage. Then, let's see so this is a map that shows that between the 60s and 2004, the urban sprawl was was terrible. So every urban action aimed to build inside the city on those industrial former industrial plots used by the time of the harbor. Well, this is the tram line. So the World Heritage Site is here, and you can see how the line are going to the center. So the mobility project was very important. Cleaning of the facade and lighting, project for every public space. The public space reconversion was one of the very important transformation of Bordeaux. You're going to see an image in a few minutes. And it was a challenge because it means that 3-4 years the city was totally disturbed by the work. Alice is showing that she understands what it means because works are terrible for people. And they are angry, and they are nothing works if they can't move through the city. In Bordeaux, as the tram transportation system and the public space were done at the same time, first the period of work was shorter, and then at the end the effect was very, very impressive. This is the Place de la Bourse before the work with all of the cars. And this is the same point of view of the Place de la Bourse today. I need to make an homage to the photographer because he died a year ago, and he did all the work of the photo I'm going to show before, after. It's very impressive work. And a view from the building we just see, Place de la Bourse. On the other side, after the project, you have the fontaine and the yard by Michel Courajou. Another view from the railroad station is around here. This is the old first bridge of Bordeaux. And this is now before. You have like 10 lines each side. It was a piece of the way to go from Paris to Bilbao. The car used to pass by this place. The public space here was with a fence here, and the people from Bordeaux or the visitors never go and walk in that place, and the link with the river was totally hidden. This is the Place de l'Hôtel de Ville, Place Péberlan, Place de la Cathédrale. A huge place to go with a car all around, and it has been transformed in a minimalist public space, but there are a lot of activities on the place time by time. This This work was not only on the huge public spaces, most monumental, but also on the little square in the district, in the city center. This is Square Vinet, and this is Square Vinet today, or a few years after the project. I'm saying that because this stuff for kids, designed by Michel Devigne. Michel Devigne is a French landscape designer, famous. People from the district, parents, they didn't want that. They found it was dangerous, so we changed that, but remained a two bench and a wall from Patrick Blanc. Another little place from a residential district that shows a very, very bad state in which we had the city center at the time. All of Bordeaux was like that. And now. Place de la Comédie, where is the big theater from Victor Louis, has been transformed to. Right, then. In this map, you can see all the urban projects that are part of this huge global urban project based on recognition of quality of heritage. This is important because the motivation for the inscription, first the postulation for the inscription, the submission was after the project. Before the project, nobody would have trust in the possibility to be inscribed on the list, on the World Heritage List. After the project starts, the project is not, it's a never-ended project. It's still, we are still in project, but at one time of the project, after some achievements, some first achievements of the project, the cultural service decided or proposed to Alain Juppé that a submission for World Heritage List could be done, and we participate as part of the team with my colleague, historian, architect, urbanism. Because at the time we were making a big inventory of all the stone houses that are very special in Bordeaux, individual house with garden behind, stone. I used to say this is antique, like antique furniture, but housing. So you can imagine more than 10,000 in that part. And that's how, because this inventory was translated into the urban regulation, that we could convince the International ICOMOS to have a huge site, a huge perimeter. But the theory of a big perimeter changed the focus on what is the part to be conserved. It's not one house by one house, or one place or one public place by one public place. It's the whole, is the consideration of the urban scale. Of course, you can't separate the architectural scale from the urban scale, but it's more a story about a settlement on the River Garonne with an harbor and with different districts that are showing today different parts of the history. So there is a DNA of evolution inside the motivation for the inscription. That's what I wanted to tell you. I can tell you too about the bridge, because maybe some of you have an idea that in Bordeaux we had a big quarrel with the UNESCO about the bridge. This bridge over there. This bridge was part of the submission. So 1 year after Bordeaux, Port de la Lune was inscribed in the World Heritage List, we had some question, very, very serious question from the UNESCO about 3 main subjects: the construction of the bridge, the destruction of another bridge here in between the two bassins à flot, and the construction of a new scholar facility in the place of an old wine warehouse. And in my opinion, this was the most serious problem. What did we do? We decided to organize an expert workshop to prepare the visit of the UNESCO and International ICOMOS. And in that moment, we find out that maybe we talk about the bridge during the submission and the ICOMOS International visit. Maybe the ICOMOS expert had seen the model of the bridge because it was chosen. Maybe he has been on the site and he has considered all the consequences, but maybe we didn't explain why and how this bridge will serve the outstanding universal value, because we didn't know how to talk the UNESCO language. So we decided that we had to make an effort to find out the good reason of the UNESCO to be surprised that we dare build a bridge on that place, and a big bridge, not a small bridge. The other option were a tunnel, but in our mind, a tunnel would not have been the good solution to ensure the urban continuity, because with a tunnel you have to make very deep ramp, escalation, and then you can't go from one side to another. But of course, with a tunnel you can't see anything on the previous landscape. But on a tunnel you can't go with a baby in the car, in the little car with a baby. You can't go with a disabled. For us, a tunnel was not an urban piece of the urban project. And why is the bridge so high? The bridge is so high, it's very simple. There is another bridge here with 57 meters high to let the boat pass through to the historic site of the harbor. And when it's up, the new bridge has the same height. And when it's down, the new bridge has the same height to let the little boat pass through the other bridge, the historic bridge from the 19th century. So we explained that the bridge was respecting the historic limits of the harbor, and that's why it had to be huge, because to have a tower bridge, it's important to do that. We explained that the bridge is going to protect this historic center and the UNESCO site from the cars, because Otherwise, there were still a lot of cars passing through the quayside, and so on. But in the workshop, some of the experts asked us about the architecture of the pillar of the bridge. And the first design was very dynamic, with some of a high stuff with like flowers, more or less. And in the landscape, when you are passing through the curve of the river Garonne, these flower pillars had an effect, dynamic effect. Well, but in Bordeaux, the architecture is elegant and sober. And the orientation of the workshop, I'm very long. Yes. Say that we had to be more elegant. So we decided to change the design. Well, there was 6 million euros to make some change, but next year we went to the committee, we had a decision like that, and then next year we had a Biennale of Architecture, Urbanism, Design. We invited the UNESCO ambassador to a debate on why the bridge between these two new districts of Bassin à Flot and Brazza, and I'm going to go further. This is Bassin à Flot, and then I have to go back to my notes. But you can. This is Bassin à Flot some years ago, because now it's not anymore like that. This is the first sketch of Nicolas Michelin, the urban planner of the Bassin à Flot. In the Bassin à Flot, I'm going to tell you about what we called negotiated urbanism. Negotiated urbanism is an approach, a method to put all the actors together around the table and share the good reason why one shouldn't be at first sight on the same line like the other. Yeah. This is some view of the landscape of Bassin à Flot, so very arbor-like landscape. Nicolas Michelin was contracted after a competition to design a new layout for the future district. Because we had to design new public space, new way to pass by public transportation, private cars, bike, pedestrian way, because this part was private industrial plot. So it was necessary to have, for the coherency of the district, to design something that can evolve, but is a common basis for land uses and exchange of property between owners and developers. The idea was, of course, to go on with the promenade on the quayside, because the Bassin à Flot is the extension of the harbor, nothing else. The idea is to orientate the architecture in the direction in order to generate view on the docks. So this is the old, the big plot, and this is the scale at which the architects and urbanists were working to make the programmation, because the layout of Nicolas Michelin, this is inside the big macro plot, you also have the design of pedestrian and cycling paths. This was a very big stuff because this is difficult to negotiate. That you can have no construction in a private property in order to have a path for pedestrian and inhabitants, because this is problem of security, etc. What is the power of the public sector in that situation? The power of the public sector in that situation in France is that it has the possibility not to grant the permit. Of course, it never occurs, but this is a possibility. And knowing that this is a possibility, everybody is around the table to discuss about the project. In a project like that, and especially in Bordeaux, where after the decline of the harbor, we don't have that pressure, urban pressure that maybe you have naturally in Liverpool. We had to communicate a lot about the project to get some investment in the project. So the layout was also a security for the investment. That's the environment of one project is going to be good enough. Okay, 2 minutes. Well, this is a view of the path in between the plot. The layout of Nicolas Michelin also defined the height and the density of the plot, and this was negotiated after in L'Atelier. L'Atelier was the place. This is a mixed city plan. This is a green plan. This is the first macro lot where you can see that old building can be maintained in the new organization of the lot. The Atelier, I have to tell you about the Atelier because if I don't do that, this is another way to make an urban project where the dialogue has a very important place. You have the basis with the urban planner. The urban planner has the trust of the mayor. The mayor is not going to interfere with the decision, and the developer are not going to go in the mayor offices after a bad decision or something that doesn't profit to the own business. The Atelier is the place where the decisions are made and compromise can be made. The Atelier has the town and the country planner, Metropolis of Bordeaux, the urban planner, the city, because this is a municipality, land in the municipality of Bordeaux, and the harbor. And then all the actors that has to do with the project are invited in session 2 days a month with a very precise agenda. This is the consultation, the population participation meeting, because of course all those projects have been made with a lot of consultation and on basis of questionnaire, with publication of the results. This is different topics held by the bassin, and interaction between the actors. I'm going to the Atelier on that same topic, and I have some colleagues going on other, but this is the way all the decision can be made quickly, because every concerned service is invited in one meeting where he has something to say. He's not going to say something 15 days later, and then a month later something else, and then, no. Everybody is there at the same time, and everybody has the vision of the collective goal, which is not especially the goal of each one, but it is a collective goal. Consultation meeting and the publication, and now 50 developers, diversity in the unity, and more than 100 architects. Some image of the project. In the layout of Nicolas Michelin, the material and the volumetry was defined, not strictly, but in the spirit. Was defined also the way to hide the car park inside the macro plots. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne-Laure, for that. It really is an amazing project. Feel free to chat for 2 minutes, and I'm going to call your attention, and we're going to go over and hear what the panel have to say. 2 minutes chatting amongst yourselves.